So, you've got a $2,000 old money aesthetic, but exactly $14 in your checking account. Let's be real for a second. Let's talk about why you're absolutely failing the game. Look, I get it. Your TikTok feed is a non-stop loop of linen blazers, vintage watches, and that quiet luxury vibe, right? You're out here trying to manifest the lifestyle. But here's the cold, high-performance truth. Your look is currently your biggest liability. While you're busy curating an image that says you spend your weekends in the Hamptons, you're actually burning the very capital you need to actually get there. See, in the world of high-level psychology, we call this status signaling. And for most of you, it's a massive leak in your productivity ship. I mean, think about the cognitive load of maintaining a lie. Every time you swipe that card for a luxury essential you can't afford, you're not just losing money, you're tanking your mindset. You're training your brain to prioritize the perception of success over the actual mechanics of it. You're trading your future freedom for a temporary hit of social validation. It's a low ROI move that keeps your dopamine baseline tethered to what strangers think of you, rather than the work you're actually putting in. The real 1%, the high performers who actually own the companies you're wearing, they don't play this game. They don't need to signal because they're too busy building. Directly, they operate on a completely different frequency, governed by a specific mental framework that most people will never even hear about. Intrigued? I call it the 5-to-1 wealth ratio. It's the invisible metric that separates the truly wealthy from the people who are just cosplay rich on a budget. Directly. If you don't understand how this ratio works, you're going to stay trapped in this aesthetic poverty loop forever. So, let's get into why your $14 reality check is the wake-up call your mindset desperately needs. Look, real talk, that $14 reality check isn't just about the price of a latte or some trendy snack you saw on your feed. It's the entry fee to a game you're currently losing, Measured. In psychology, we call this signaling theory. And let's be clear, it's an evolutionary survival mechanism that has been completely weaponized against you. Back in the day, humans signaled strength or resources just to secure their place in the tribe. But today, that instinct has been hijacked by the aesthetic poverty loop. Pointed, you're signaling wealth that you haven't actually built yet. Provocative. Think about the validation tax, right? Intense. Every time you buy into a micro-trend, whether it's that specific brand of water bottle everyone has this week or a haul of fast fashion that'll be trashed by next month, you are paying a tax just to be seen. Warning, but here's the problem. That tax is paid with your seed money. I mean, seed money is the capital you're supposed to use to plant your future freedom. Instead, you're literally eating your seeds just because you want the world to think you've already harvested the crop. This is the permanent interest rate on your future. If you're spending your early 20s trying to look like a finished product, I promise you're guaranteed to stay a work in progress forever. Gen Z is being tricked into digital peacocking. We are the first generation to have our status monitored 24/7, which creates this massive psychological trap where you feel like you're falling behind if your life doesn't look curated every single second. But look, high performance isn't about looking the part, it's about having the power. When you spend $500 on shoes to signal status, you haven't gained a single cent of respect. You've just lost $500 worth of leverage. You're effectively subsidizing your own poverty just to get a nod from people who are just as broke as you are. You're cosplaying as a winner while your bank account is screaming for help. You have to realize that the algorithm doesn't want you to be wealthy. It wants you to be a high-velocity consumer. It wants you to feel that itch of inadequacy that can only be scratched by a checkout button. This constant need for external validation is a massive leak in your productivity and your mindset. It's a distraction from the deep work required to actually become the person you're pretending to be. But here's the part most people aren't ready to hear. This isn't just a bad habit or a lack of discipline, okay? It's something far more clinical. What if your need for attention, this constant urge to buy the aesthetic, is actually a symptom of a deeper cognitive bias that your brain is using to protect your ego? What if the trap is actually inside your own head? Look, let's call this what it actually is: aesthetic dysmorphia. You've successfully tricked your brain into thinking that looking the part is the same thing as playing the part. I mean, you see a version of yourself on a feed, filtered, curated, and draped in a specific vibe, and you feel an intense, almost physical need to match that image in the real world just to feel valid. But here's the high-performance diagnosis you probably won't like. Seriously, you aren't investing in your brand, okay? You're suffering from a distorted perception of value. High performers, the ones actually making the moves you're trying to mimic, they don't rent their confidence from a designer label. They own their future by delaying the flex. Think about the ROI here for a second. I mean, your wardrobe is a depreciating asset. The moment you walk out of the store or cut the tags, its value starts plummeting towards zero. But your brain, your mindset, those are compounding assets. Every hour you spend building a skill is an investment that pays dividends for the rest of your life. Right now, you're trading your long-term freedom for a short-term dopamine hit. You're trying to look rich while your bank account is literally screaming for help. You're playing a game you've already lost because you're focused on the scoreboard instead of the actual play. But look, it gets even deeper than your bank account. If you think this is just about money, you're missing the most dangerous part of the trap. This aesthetic obsession is actually rewiring your brain's reward system, making it nearly impossible for you to achieve the very success you're trying to project. And the reason why? It's hidden in a psychological glitch that turns your aspiration into your anchor. Look, we're done talking about why your brain is glitching. It's time to actually talk about how we fix the architecture of your life, right? If you want to stop being a walking billboard for brands that literally don't care about you, you need an execution protocol. I mean, this isn't about saving pennies or being cheap. It's about building a system that actually produces the power you're currently trying to fake. Step 1 is the aesthetic audit. See, right now, your digital environment is working against you. Commandingly, I need you to go through your following list and ruthlessly unfollow every single creator whose sole content is hauls or mindless consumption. Their lifestyle isn't a goal, it's just a curated trap designed to normalize overspending. You cannot build a high-performance mindset if your feed is constantly triggering your envy and lowering your dopamine baseline. Firmly. Second, you're implementing the 72-hour rule. From today, if you see a trending item or a must-have fit, you wait 3 full days before hitting that buy button. Calmly, that initial need you feel, that's just a neurochemical spike, you know? Give it 72 hours and that essential item almost always loses its luster. If the desire disappears, the money stays in your pocket. You're training your brain to prioritize logic over impulse. Intensely. Third, we pivot to the 5-to-1 ratio. This is the discipline of the high performer. Directly, for every $1 you spend on your look, whether it's sneakers, a haircut, or a new jacket, you must invest $5 into a high-income skill or an index fund. Look, if you can't afford to put $500 into your future, you have no business spending $100 to look rich today. Firmly, this shifts your identity from a consumer to an investor. Steadily. Fourth, you're going to build a ghost wardrobe. Stop being a logo chaser, okay? Focus on high-quality, unbranded basics that are built to last for years and don't scream for attention. Quietly, this is about quiet confidence. When you stop wearing loud logos, you force people to look at your character and your results instead of your labels. You want to be the person who has $1 million, not the person who looks like they spent their last $1,000. But look, Building this system is the easy part. The real challenge starts when you actually try to step out of the trap, because there's a psychological gravity that's going to try and pull you right back into the cycle of broke but aesthetic. And that gravity is coming from the one place you'd least expect it, the people sitting right next to you. In fact, your social circle might be the very reason you're programmed to stay poor, and the way they do it is almost invisible.
Listen, breaking away from that social gravity, it's gonna feel lonely at first. When you stop chasing the vibe and actually start chasing the volume in your bank account, your friends are probably gonna think you've gone boring. They'll call you missing in action just because you aren't at the brunch or the latest drop. Firmly, but here is the truth they aren't ready to hear. The ultimate status symbol in the modern world isn't a logo on your chest. It's the word no. Think about it. I mean, really think about it. Most people are one bad week away from total collapse, which means they have to say yes to everything. They say yes to jobs they hate, yes to people they don't even like, and yes to purchases they can't afford just to maintain the illusion. See, that's not power. That's a gilded cage. The invisible 1%, the high performers I talk about, they don't look like what you see on your Explore page, right? They aren't renting supercars just for a photo op. Their status is invisible because it's internal. It's the peace of mind that comes from knowing you own your time. It's having a freedom fund that actually allows you to walk away from any situation that doesn't serve your growth. Right now, you have a choice. You can continue to be a professional consumer, someone who spends their life energy decorating a life they're actually stressed out by, or you can become a builder. A consumer buys things to feel important. A builder creates things to be important. I want to challenge you to flip the script. From this moment on, I want you to stop posting your purchases. Stop showing us the new shoes, the iced coffee, or the aesthetic setup. I mean, come on. Instead, start posting your progress. Show the messy desk where you're actually studying. Show the gym session where you look like trash because you're actually working. Show the side hustle that isn't profitable yet. Stop renting your confidence from brands that don't care about you. Start building a foundation that can't be taken away when the trends change. Your value isn't determined by what you wear. It's determined by what you produce and the discipline you keep when no one is watching. The aesthetic poverty trap only works if you stay obsessed with the surface. Once you dive deep into your own potential, the trap loses its power. Build your empire in silence and let your freedom be the only flex you ever need. If you're ready to stop renting your confidence and start building your empire, hit subscribe and join the power of mindset. We don't do vibes here. We do results. See you in the next one.